One sign you've discovered a heretic is when that person sees the person or thing they hate the most behind every single happening. Take this professor who tweeted, "Every dirty, treacherous, ugly, and pernicious act happening in the world, just wait for a few days and the ugly name of Israel will pup." Will pup? Another indication of a heretic is an inability to string sentences together. Let's take a look. Let me introduce you to Columbia University Professor Hamid Dabashi, who looks like he just saw a ghost in this picture. Or maybe Israel, which seems to haunt him as though it were one. Okay, so I think it's safe to say Dabashi doesn't view Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, whom he calls a bastard pathological liar, as a bastion of empowerment. But do you know who he does think is empowering? Ahed Tamimi. That's right, the Palestinian girl Israeli police detained after she kicked, punched, and slapped Israeli soldiers on multiple occasions. The professor seems to think more women should strive to be like Tamimi, posting about her on International Women's Day. And you better not get in the way of Dabashi and his activism, even if you're a student who has paid tuition money for the privilege of taking his classes. The professor has cancelled classes to fulfill his moral duty of going to a pro-Palestinian rally in the past. But let's hear some more from the professor. One thing that's really insidious about Dabashi's anti-Israel rants are the very visceral language he uses. Listen to this. Half a century of systematic maiming and murdering of another people has left its deep marks on the faces of Israelis, says the professor. The way they talk, the way they walk, the way they handle objects, the way they greet each other, the way they look at the world. There is an endemic prevarication to this machinery, a vulgarity of character that is bone deep and structural to the skeletal vertebrae of its culture. That sounds an awful lot like something certain doctors from a certain historical dictatorship would say, doesn't it? And it doesn't seem like Dabashi has a lot of tolerance for disagreement with his ideas either. The professor wrote an essay alleging racism in the Israeli military, and when a Columbia grad student who had served in the Israeli military dared to object via email, Dabashi forwarded the message to Columbia admins, saying, "Given the military record of this person, I also feel physically threatened," and asking for security to protect his person from a potential attack by a militant slanderer. His request was denied, but when it comes to Dabashi, perhaps the most bizarre bit of doublethink is that the professor writes about the intersection between Islamism and liberation theology. That's right, Columbia employs a professor who researches how Islamism, which of course includes Sharia law, leads to freedom. Oh, and he also seems to agree with Karl Marx's notion that violence is at the crux of all political acts. What a fine Ivy League education his students must be getting. For Campus Unmasked, I'm Prof. Shimshock. If you like this video and support our mission, please make sure to comment and subscribe. If something happens on your campus and you'd like us to investigate, send us details using the form on campusunmasked.com.